Okay, so let's say you're brand new to programming, you've never written a line of code before, you want to know what can I do to get better? First of all, make a website because it's the easiest way to get your hands on, and you probably already use a browser every day, so you're using websites on a daily basis. This means if you learn websites first, you can make a change in some technology that you're already using, which always makes it sink in better. So what do you need to know for websites? Well, take a look at this index card. So a lot of people think that HTML, CSS, and JavaScript are three different languages, but really they're linked together and they work in unison to make websites work, right? So you have up here, that's our website displaying on the browser, kind of like the one at PageKeyTech.com. And you have, content, things written on it, whatever. That's called the DOM. It's represented in memory. It's a tree, basically. Websites are trees. The HTML is telling you what is on the website. It's the content. It's the text, the paragraphs, the links to images, things like that. CSS is how to display it. It's your styling. So it says, I want borders of this color. I want it to be positioned here. I want this font. I want this font size, all that stuff. Anything to do with how it looks is going to go in CSS. And the JavaScript is where things get fancy because that's the behavior. So if you want a special behavior when you click a button, that's going to take JavaScript. If you want to do anything else dynamic or fancy, make a game, anything, it's all going to be JavaScript. CSS and HTML, neither of those have any notion of executing things in order, of looping, of variables. No real programming there. They're really just markup. They're just rules for how to display things in the case of CSS, and HTML is just a hierarchy of the things you want on the page. So how can we write some code right now and get the feel for this? Like, we need to get our hands dirty. And I'm going to say, if you're still watching and you're interested in this and you want to learn it, you absolutely have to do this with me. Pause the video as I go, replay the video if you have to, but do what I do, because there's such a big difference between doing something and watching someone do it. And the last thing you want to be doing when you're learning to program is watching somebody do something instead of doing it yourself. So I'm going to go to PageKeyTech.com. You can really go to any website you want, but I'm going to go to my website. And then you right click on the page, any page on the internet. I'm using Chrome, but really any browser also has this. You can right click on the page, hit inspect or inspect element or anything like that, and it's going to bring up your developer tools. Congratulations, you are now a developer. So now that we have our developer tools open, this is the toolkit for people who make websites. You are now a person who makes websites. So this is your toolkit. We actually have all three elements that we were looking for in this diagram, right? We have HTML, CSS, and JavaScript all visible right here. If you look at the top, this is the DOM, the current state of the page as a tree, and the markup is HTML. So you can see as I'm scrolling down the page on the right with my cursor, it's highlighting the what of what I'm hovering over, right? So this is the hero, this is the footer. Whoops, the footer's all the way down here, but if I hover over the footer, that's the what of the footer. The content for the footer's in there. All of the text on the page that you see, if you click enough down, the text is in the footer. Fun fact, you can change the text if you want. So that's the, elementary school, I hacked the school website trick. If you don't know that one, that's how you do that. You're only changing it locally. You're not messing anything up, so don't worry about that. But yeah, so that's HTML. In the middle, you have CSS. So as you hover over things, that's the what. The CSS is selecting elements within that HTML based on rules. So if you click on the footer, you can see all of the style rules that are applied to the footer. On the top is the rule, so it matched this rule. If the class equals footer underscore blah, blah, whatever, you can see that the class is also footer, blah, blah. So dot in CSS indicates look for class equals. So look for a class with that name. So since this matched, we applied the styles of background color, color, padding, text align, margin top. We applied those styles. So you can actually unclick it in developer tools to see what would happen if that style didn't match. And if we get rid of our background color, we don't have much to see because the text is white on white. If we get rid of the color, it doesn't look quite as nice. And you can get rid of the padding. Anything in there you can change in developer tools. So that's what CSS is, what it looks like. It's literally just applying styles to your HTML at the top there, to the what. And at the very bottom, we have a console for JavaScript where we can execute JavaScript. So like your hello world would be console.log hello world. And that's just built in for logging purposes. If you want to select something on the page, the only time you ever do anything in JavaScript is when you've obtained a reference to something in the HTML, something in the DOM. So you're not creating anything in JavaScript. You're not creating buttons. The button's already there because you put it in your HTML. Then in the JavaScript, you just get a reference to it. So as an example, if we wanted to get a reference to the footer on this page, we would just take the class name, and we can use a similar way of selecting things that we do in CSS. So we're going to set it to a variable. We're going to say var footer equals document. Document is a global object that lets you access things within the document. And query selector is where we're going to use a CSS selector. We're going to use that same dot notation. So we're going to say dot and paste the class name. So we're selecting things with that class. Once we hit enter, footer is now assigned to that bottom item there. So a quick way to make a difference would be to change the inner HTML of the footer to something else. I'm just going to call it hello, and it's going to mess things up, right? If we hit enter, now the footer just says hello, because the inner HTML, the HTML inside of the tag that we selected, is now just hello. So that's basically it. So if you're learning concepts like how to manipulate strings, how to set variables, how to loop through things, I think in future tutorials we can probably apply those to your browser and do some fun things on websites with nothing more than a JavaScript terminal open. Hopefully this was helpful if you're new to programming, or if you're just new to the web programming, HTML, CSS, JavaScript. If you enjoyed, please like the video and possibly subscribe to the channel.